Okay, hello, my name is Claudia, and I'm going to be presenting my master's dissertation, which is titled Greening Camelot, Eco-Critical and Ecofeminist Insights into John Berman's Excalibur. This is my table of contents. So I'm going to begin by introducing a few concepts. And the first thing to know is that Excalibur synthesizes or attempts to synthesize the whole of the Arthurian legend into a cycle of rise, splendor, and fall, which is reminiscent of the traditional medieval prose cycles, and which is of course similar to Sir Thomas Malory's The Death of Arthur, from which Borman drew inspiration from. He also drew inspiration from other sources, such as the ones I have put up there. But nevertheless, Borman adapted the legend, creating a product of its own, which is the good thing really about the mythopoetic nature of the Arthurian legends, right? They're constantly being reinterpreted, adapted, and reworked. And so Berman's portrayal of the legend is extremely focused on the sword, Excalibur, hence the title of the movie. And for Borman, the sword does not simply legitimize the king. The sword, as we will see, represents the union, the physical union between land and king, which, as the movie shows and as the movie tells us, is imperative for the kingdom to thrive. So, through the sword, the movie sort of unveils this discourse about the importance of union between land and king, that is, between nature and civilization, which is very relevant for us. Okay, so this is why I am attempting to approach Excalibur from a critical perspective, because I want to see how this relationship between Arthurian civilization and nature is presented. But I also want to go a little bit further, and I want to take note of how women are portrayed. We have 4 women in this film, and they are all portrayed differently in terms of agency and in terms of how they relate to nature. So an ecofeminist framework is useful here and very much necessary. I have put as an example Vandana Shiva and Maria Mia's work Ecofeminism, and I'm looking particularly at their work because they stress something that, in my opinion, is inherent, if not to the Arthurian legend as a whole, at least to Excalibur, which is the spiritual side of nature. And this leads me to the next framework that I'm using, which is that of spiritual ecology, which, according to Vaughan Lee, and I will be quoting now, asserts that the world is a living entity to which humans inherently belong, and that the ecological crisis is the cause of a larger spiritual crisis that disconnects humans from nature. And as we shall see, this is an aspect that the film amply explores. Okay, so my objectives, besides uncovering the ecological discourse embedded within the movie and analyzing women's roles, I also want to help, if possible, broaden the limited critical research done within Arthurian studies. The Arthurian myth has been explored from many different perspectives, but it seems like eccriticism and ecofeminism are still wiggling their way in, and I want to help with that. Okay, so my research is not complete yet, and there is probably a lot more to discover that may even contradict what I have put here. But here's what I have found so far. First is, and as you may have probably gathered, the dichotomy between nature versus civilization is straight up rejected. The movie embraces union between the two. It embraces oneness between land and king in order for harmony to be achieved. As Merlin tells Arthur, you will be the land and the land will be you. If you fail, the land will perish. As you thrive, the land will blossom. This is depicted, I argue, in 2 dimensions. A physical dimension represented through the physical union between the king and Excalibur, and a spiritual dimension represented by the acknowledgement of the interconnectedness of all things. And regarding the women in Excalibur, what I have found so far is that they are actually the ones who, either directly or indirectly, trigger the thematic development of the plot. Remember that the story is organized into a cycle of rise, splendor, and fall, and the changes in the plot are triggered by these women. Additionally, there also seems to be a progression in the agency of these women, and what is very interesting, but not surprising, is that as women gain agency, the outcome of their actions becomes progressively more negative. So for instance, Igraine is Arthur's mother, and she is raped by Uther Pendragon. She is totally passive. Yet, the outcome of that transgression, as I call them, is positive. Because Arthur is born. But then we have Guinevere, who has more agency than Igraine, and she willingly meets Lancelot, and what they do turns Camelot into the wasteland, which is negative. And then we have Morgana, who is definitely very active, and she is, as the most active female, she is pretty much portrayed as a monster, and her actions doom Camelot. They cause the fall of Camelot. And to finish, we have the Lady of the Lake, which is a very interesting character. She is the most powerful character in the movie, yet she's not given a voice, which is very interesting. I definitely need to explore her a lot further, because, well, she could represent, I think she does represent Mother Nature itself, but then she also represents this old pagan past that is still very much attuned to nature, so maybe a Celtic goddess. She's definitely worth exploring a lot further. And these were my cited works, and that's it. Thank you.